In all the things we could be talking about in regards to Star Wars on December 20th, 2019, we're talking about The Mandalorian. That's right. Chapter 7 was The Reckoning. It is The Reckoning. And the gang's all here. And oh, Pete Fletzer, we are here together talking about, once again, The Mandalorian. How are we doing, my friend?
I'm great, man. How are you doing?
Doing really well. I got to tell you, I feel conflicted here because we had Mandalorian early this week as planned on Wednesday, and we
Right.
made the decision we were going to wait until tonight to have this conversation, just because my work schedule is crazy. Because you have obligations with your family, and it's just like Friday. Let's end the week having this conversation. And I'm going to be honest with you. I had every intention of having like this really like creative introduction for this episode. I was gonna have like a joke prepared, but the truth is, I ate about a pound and a half of macaroni and margarita of rather vodka sauce, and I'm a little bloated right now. I'm a little sleepy, and so
It's
I
all right.
just took a double shot of Johnny Walker Black Label, and I'm ready to keep this thing going. And uh, I feel guilty because it's like, let's go right into the Mandalorian. We should talk about that. But the Rise of Skywalker is a thing. But I feel conflicted because this isn't a Rise of Skywalker show. But just to get the elephant out of the room,
Okay.
you had a good time. You had a good time with it.
I enjoyed it the first two times I've seen it, and I expect to enjoy it the third time tomorrow when I see it
You,
again. So, yeah, it is funny, right? I mean, I guess this is why they ran Chapter 7 on Wednesday, because the movie did officially open today, and there's a lot of conversation about that. I'm hopeful that maybe some people are going to check in with us just because they kind of need to cleanse their palate a little bit.
yeah.
Whether you loved it, didn't love it, whatever, we're that's not where we're going to go on this show. But if you loved it or didn't love Chapter 7 of The Mandalorian, which I'll say this: I saw a ton of people who have ranked this as their favorite of the series so far.
Can I be honest with you? It's my
Yes,
favorite.
you can.
It's my favorite of the whole series so far. And I don't think that's a surprise because my previous favorite episode was by the same director, Deborah Chow. And I think that
Yeah.
this episode, I mean, it has everything you want. And I think that a lot of maybe the frustration that I shared last week on the show,
Hmm.
I was concerned about pacing. I was concerned about the lack of dialogue. There was a lot of silence. There wasn't a whole lot of like just the action. Something felt off. And Deborah
Yep.
Chow comes in here and she absolutely crushed. And I was referring to Chapter 5, not Chapter 6. Chapter 6 was a lot of fun, of course, with the
Yep.
heist. You had Bill Burr and all of them. That episode was fun. Rick did a nice job with that episode. But I thought Deborah just really gets Star Wars, and I think that she capitalizes the most with telling a Star Wars story in under 40 minutes.
Yeah, and so let's direct that to her as the director of Kenobi, and I think we talked about it when she did episode 3. We talked about how this bodes well for what we're going to see in future live action Star Wars, and she has one of the things I think that she has done very well with her 2 episodes, and you talk about it a lot, and it's interesting to get your perspective on it. Is her pacing is really, really good. I think that was, for example, as much as I enjoyed the episode that Bryce Dallas Howard did, the pacing was a little strange. And maybe it was because it was also not a high action episode, and maybe Deborah Chow was great at the action stuff. But the pace of this, even with the introduction of or reintroduction of all the characters that were on the promotional posters, getting the crew back together. That pace was good. It's funny. I watched the episode twice, and the first time I saw it, I thought it was a little bit slow, but in watching it the second time, it was actually just the right amount of reintroduction.
I watching this episode, I felt like I was with the characters the entire time. You get to the very ending, and Moff Gideon shows up, and you get all those troopers. Which, by the way, shout
Yep.
out to the 501st members that were a part of that scene
Oh
because
yeah.
that is one of my favorite, like larger ensemble scenes in Star Wars ever. I thought it was just cool how like troopers just poured out of everywhere. You get the troop transport in there, which I only knew as
Oh, I
like a
loved
Kenner
it.
toy, right? Like that wasn't in the
Yeah.
original movies, correct?
No, no, it was not. It was in Rebels, I think, but
Right, they did put it in
um,
there.
Yeah, it was never in a film. Sure.
So it was really cool, and it was really cool that 501st actually shared a photo on Twitter once the episode dropped, and we had heard rumblings about it at Star Wars Celebration. Folks were talking about how they were part of that scene and how cool it was to be on set. So we've been looking. I've been looking forward to this scene since April at Star Wars Celebration, so that was pretty cool. But yeah,
Yeah.
this was the first time like the chapter ended, and I was like, oh my god! Like I felt like it was an actual cliffhanger, and I was like, man, like that went by so fast. Like we couldn't have had 5 more minutes, and previous episodes felt like they ended abruptly, where it was like it's supposed to continue on. And I guess my
Yeah.
point is this felt more of an actual cliffhanger, and I'm like, damn.
Well, I think it's one of those things that has proven to. This is where the right type of trailers and previews work well, because I think we thought we saw everything with Queel and Kara, and I think we kind of pretty much did in their episodes, quote unquote. But this one, Moff Gideon came, and then as you said, the episode left us hanging when I thought for sure, okay, we're gonna get some more action, and I was like, no, I need more. And then to see, to leave it the way they did, to leave it with Queel looking like he didn't make it
He
through the end of the episode,
no, he's dead, right?
and I
He's gotta be
think so,
dead.
but you know what? I mean, this is a new
His
Star Wars thing where no one's ever really gone.
his
But
body was smoldering.
yeah, I know, and I think he's gone. And honestly, I don't want him to be gone, but I think I think I want him to be gone. I think it would add weight to the series.
There had to be a casualty, and I found myself emotional about that scene because we finally got to the point where the crew was assembled.
Yep.
I kind of made the assumption that the crew was going to be assembled by chapter 5 the way it was going. We met him. We meet Cara Dune. IG-11 popped up, and I thought there might be a chance that he'd be part of the crew. And so I thought we were assembling these pieces a lot faster, and it didn't turn out that way, which I think there's a lesson there about predicting the story that you want and accepting the story that you get. The story that we're getting is exceptional. I'm really happy
Yeah.
with it, and I still, even though I've been vocal about, I want to see more out of Dave Filoni. I don't think he's done a bad job. I just want him to get more reps so he gets better. I've enjoyed
Mhm.
what Rick has done. I like what Deborah Chow does. I cannot wait to see what Taika Waititi does with Chapter 8, this finale. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what it's setting up to, is this impressive. I mean, it is going to be an impressive showcase, I think, of action for this Chapter 8, because we leave our heroes up in that cantina. Windows just shot out. There's,
Yep.
dozens, maybe more than 100 troopers out there with Moff Gideon. Are we going to see at the end of this chapter Moff Gideon taking off in that TIE fighter and the Mandalorian pursuing him? I'm excited to see that sequence if that's how it plays out. So they've done a really nice job of, we got the main story, then we went off on these couple side adventures, and we were like, like it's Star Wars, but it's not like directly involved with this main line. Now we're back on the tracks, and we're set up for hopefully at least 35, 40 minutes of like action-packed Imperials shooting bounty hunters. Like it's going to be, I think, a lot of fun. I enjoyed at the very beginning of the episode all the different locations that we bounced around. Pete, did that work for you as far as assembling the crew? That's one of my favorite things of Rogue One, is how we went to all these different locations within the first half hour of the movie. Does it work for you here with The Mandalorian?
Yeah, I think it does, because they didn't. I think I had said it earlier on, and that is, you look at this show as sort of like a comic book. I think the way it's been done has been very much like a comic book, so that we dove a little bit deep into Queel's planet. We dove a little bit deep into where we found Kara, and the nice thing is they didn't need to reset it. You knew you had 35 minutes on the planet where Kara was, so you knew what was going on there. You had a sense, and I think that allowed it to really kind of very quickly get into the sort of selling her on coming, and then selling Queel on joining him. And we had again the history with IG-11, and we understood that we've gotten a nice setup as the Mandalorian doesn't trust droids, and so that actually played really, really nicely in this episode. And this, for the first time, it didn't feel heavy-handed. It didn't feel like he had to say it to make it work. You know what I mean? And it just, I think they have really, they're paying off what we've gotten so far as style of the show goes.
Yeah, I can roll with that. And I thought it was funny because It's kind of like, I made the point several times where I was like, man, these side episodes, it feels like wasted time because you only get 8 episodes this first season. We don't know what we're gonna get with season 2. But then I was like, wow, this gives kind of puts everything into perspective. We've been to a lot of places already in this first season of The Mandalorian, and I liked the fact to go back to that cantina, find Cara Dune, pull her out, and she's growing on me. Like, I love the character and concept. I was talking with David Gilbert from BTBD earlier about this today. I love the
Mhm.
character, but Cara Dune, where that character is going to grow, is going to be equivalent to how Gina Carano uh, grows as an actress.
I am so glad to hear you say that. And look, I love what she's bringing to
Awesome.
the show, but it struck me when I was watching it the second time, and this is such a nitpick, and I'm I'm not an actor, so I'm not qualified to say it, but I feel like she mumbles her lines a little bit or something. There's something about her delivery
Mhm.
that, yeah, I don't know, it's shy, or there's something that's a little bit, it's missing. It's hard for me to really get behind, and maybe that's a style issue. But to your point, she's not. You said it, I think, early on. Wait, she's not an actress. She's a fighter, and she's an amazing physical presence, an amazing in her fight scenes. But when she speaks, I kind of find it hard. Like, there's a little timidness to it, and maybe that's sort of an interesting dichotomy in the character. But I also feel like the acting in Mandalorian so far has not been where they've focused. Because look, I mean, Grief Karga's acting is so over the top. I think every line he delivers is
Mando.
yes, Mando, you're getting this message, so I assume you're alive. Like, it's just all
Let's
right, we
call it
get it.
even.
Yeah, that's right. Rocky, you need to train harder. It's
Let's go to the Twi'lek hut and have a good time.
yeah, so I
That's
feel
not a line
maybe
from the
maybe
show.
it's, and maybe it's not her, because she was actually, I loved her in Deadpool. So again, I
Okay,
think
but to be
it's
fair,
the
she only had like
directing.
2 lines in Deadpool.
Okay,
She
yeah,
only had
but she
two
was,
lines.
I thought she was great in Deadpool.
Well, yeah, she kicked ass, and that's what she's doing here in this show,
Right.
which is
Yep.
fine. That's why you get her. But also, when you have like a Dave, well, not so much a Dave Filoni, kind of Dave Filoni, but when you have like a Jon Favreau, and then
Right.
you have like Taika Waititi on set, and you have, I guess, in some regards, a Bryce Dallas Howard, and you list everybody, Deborah Chow. I don't know if it's a thing where it's like too many people giving notes on how to bring this character out, or if every
Yeah.
director has like a little bit different interpretation of how she should be. But when I hear Cara Dune speak, it always kind of sounds like my mall, like when I'm at the mall with my mom, and she's like, "Do you see the outfit that she's wearing? I can't believe she would go out in public like that." And everything is like a little condescending, under her nose. Doesn't want everyone to know about it, but wants it to be more than loud enough for you to hear it, and then maybe the person next to you. I mean, just slightly offensive. That's how I view Cara Dune. As far as the delivery that Gina has with that character,
Yeah.
it's all kind of like, I'm retired. I'm retired from shooting people. I'm staying here. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's just me. I mean, maybe I'm being like too critical of it, but
Yeah.
I want to see her grow, and I want to see her grow more in season 2. And I'd be curious if we ever do hear from the actors and actresses about what it is like to get notes from so many different directors on location for the same series. I don't think that was really addressed. I can think of like Ash Crosnan, who did that full cast panel interview right
Yeah.
before the series debuted, and it wasn't addressed there. But also, it's like, there's plenty of time to ask those kind of questions. But it's something I'm paying attention to.
No, I think, yeah, it's I think it's something that was sort of set in motion with like Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones lived by that. And what they started to do is they got to a point where they knew there were certain, and I wish I knew the directors' names. I loved Game of Thrones, but I wasn't quite
I
that
didn't
up to
watch it at
speed on all
all.
the details behind the scenes. But I do know that they found certain writers and directors who became experts at battle scenes and experts at episodes that were very expository and things like that. So um, I think they're trying to find that. I think clearly we found, if you have an action episode, go to Deborah Chow. Um, if you or even um, I think there's an opportunity for Filoni to get a little bit better at that as well. And to your point, I'm excited to see what Taika's going to do with this last episode.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I love. Have you noticed that Taika Waititi's like in every movie right now?
Oh my gosh, yeah! Every preview I think I saw before the Rise of Skywalker, I felt like
Right?
he was in.
Wasn't he in at least two of them?
I think he was. Yeah,
He was in the one with Ryan Reynolds, and I like how
yeah,
he's popping up in all these different places, and I think that will be, I I think my assumption is I'm looking forward to the humor,
yep,
but what
yep.
I think what he will deliver on is the action. I think that what Taika Waititi did with, for example, Thor Ragnarok.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's where I was going to go. Yep.
And of course, now you have a stunt coordinator on that movie set, and you have choreographers on that set. I get that, but I think, with his eye and delivering a large blockbuster like that, I think that really sets us up to have a really cool finale for this first season. And again, I just want to reiterate, I don't want to hate on Dave Filoni. I liked his 2 episodes. I know I was a little more disappointed with the chapter 5. I thought chapter 1 though was a great way to kind of kick things off.
Yep.
But I want to see him succeed. I want him to, because ultimately I want to see him do a live action like film, whether that's on Disney Plus or that's in the theater. But I want him to get those reps. And you watch the Clone Wars, for example, that first season and a half, you can really make an argument that it didn't really find its footing, that series, until the end of the second season. And then
Right.
you get the stories that you get in the 6th season, and of course what we hope to get here in the final season on Disney Plus in February. Once he gets enough reps, he's proven that he can work with the cast and tell a story both visually and through the script. So just let's get him more reps, and like by season 4 of The Mandalorian, this will be Oscar award-winning content.
Well, but I think it's interesting that Dave Filoni did learn at the foot of George Lucas, who I don't think anybody would disagree that George Lucas is a great storyteller, but not necessarily a great director. And you can be a great storyteller and be a decent writer. So I think Dave just needs more of that exposure, and he knows how to direct animation, which is a different animal than television, which is a different animal than feature film. So again, I'm saying all this like I know it, and I just want to say, as I'm reading people's Twitter comments, especially about Rise of Skywalker, I'm like, guys, unless your profile says that you are a screenwriter or a director, your opinions only matter or mean so much. So I don't want to be over, to your point, Dave. I don't want to be over whether it's critical or even praising. I just know what I like, and I know what I see, and I know what I think. And so I would love to see more of Dave. I'm with you. I think if he sticks with it, and he may decide, directing isn't for me. I like telling the stories. So we'll see where that goes.
Which I would be totally fine with. Because I like what comes out of his pen when it comes to Star Wars storytelling.
Sure.
But I think it's fascinating how, to your point, everyone with a social media account is they think the world's greatest social media influencer, and so
Right.
it's like the same thing with like the Rise of Skywalker, for example. You get the critics coming out after Monday night's show, and they're like, very indifferent, and the 52% on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever it is.
Right.
And then what is this? We've been looking 27 hours now. The movie has been open to the public, and the community rating is like an 88%. So
Yep.
I just think that goes to a lot. But you go to Twitter, and depending on who you follow, they'll tell you it's the end of the world. I like the movie. Hey, let's talk about this. And I think there was a point in the live chat earlier, and I mentioned this because I want to thank everyone for being with us in the live chat. A lot of folks are probably watching The Rise of Skywalker right now. We want to talk about The Mandalorian because we wanted a break. We got Charlie in the live chat with us. We got Frammy. We got Who Would Want This Name. We got Mr. Rez here with us. And so we really appreciate you spending your Friday night with us here in the live chat. And I love Charlie brought up this point, so I just want to go ahead and shout it out now. Gideon, to me, is one of the great Imperial characters that we have gotten in a very long time, and we've spent like zero time with him. Just the way he enters. Also, I didn't know a TIE fighter's wings could collapse. Did you know that? Have you ever seen that
I
happen?
I didn't, and so I watched chapter 7 on Wednesday morning, and saw them land like that, and then the next night when I saw Rise of Skywalker, I saw that they don't all end like that. So it must be some sort of special super Moff TIE fighter or something. But either way, man, that was cool. I've seen, I think it was in the Art of the Force Awakens. I think there was sketches for TIE fighters doing just that. And of
Mhm.
course, this is one thing that this show has been really good at, is bringing to life artwork and sketches and concepts and putting them into universe. So either way, it was just really, in fact, my son watched it with me and he was like, that's cool. So that worked really well for him.
I uh I really enjoy there's a certain way that Gideon walks that has that brash, that air of the empire where it exudes this confidence, but yet this regalness. It's not hard for me to learn why people root for the empire to win. Because everything looks cool and everything is polished, and you instruct fear in people's minds with numbers,
Yep.
and he to me embodies that arrogance of the empire, even though we know that it's a shattered empire at this point on the canonical timeline. So I cannot wait to explore more with him, and the fact that how in that world, can the Mandalorian grieve care? How can they get out of that cantina? I mean, they are absolutely surrounded. So I'm curious: have the Mandalorians already left the planet at this point? I think
Hmm.
that's what we are led to believe, based on what happens in Chapter 3, and you have Paz saying, we'll just, or is it Kaz? I think it's Paz, the heavy infantry
Yeah, Paz
Mando that we met.
Vizsla. Yep.
Yeah, voiced by John Favreau. I guess that's what we're led to believe, is that they have all left. So I'm kind of curious, like, who is the savior in this finale of Chapter 8? And I know I keep talking about Chapter 8 more than Chapter 7. I think
Mhm.
7 just did such a nice job setting the stage for a cool showdown. It has
Yep.
me hyped. I mean, I really do think that we might not have a Star Wars movie in theaters for the next 5 years, and for us that's bizarre
Right.
right now, because we just got we've gotten 5 movies in 5 years.
Well,
But
so yeah,
oh
I
well,
think we've done a nice job on this show. I think of making sure we're talking about things just beyond the Mandalorian,
yeah.
and to bring it to talk about. Here I am patting us on the back. I'm going to say you did it. It's all you, Dave,
What
because
did I
it
do?
would sound, it would be egotistical for me to say that I did it, but
What did I do?
we did it. But anyway, the point being,
Why are you
what I
yelling at
found.
me? Stop yelling.
It's been a long week. I've
It,
seen
it's the
Rise of
alcohol.
Skywalker
It's the
twice. I'm,
alcohol.
I'm going again tomorrow.
No, go ahead. Stop
But so the
bragging.
the point that the point that I wanted to make, though, is that it's interesting, the choice that Disney's made in marketing Rise of Skywalker in the Disney Plus era, because I went to the theater today with my best friend since fourth grade. We've seen every Star Wars movie together forever. We've been, in each other's weddings, all that great stuff. So we've known each other forever. He knows about the podcasts and things like that, but he doesn't listen to them because I don't know why he doesn't listen. Actually, I could use that one extra listener. I'm going to have to get on him. But the point, the point here is he
Glad to know you have a supportive relationship
yeah,
with this
it's good to have a
person.
good friend. It
Yeah.
sounds kind of like you and Jesse, but that's a
Yeah.
sorry.
That
I'm
that
sorry.
that, that felt oddly personal.
Uh,
That
it
felt
did.
like that felt like a shot. I've been told that it's only been 4 years that we've gotten these movies. So yeah,
Yes, it's only been 4 years.
I suck at math. Yeah,
That's
2015,
okay. That's all right.
2019.
But so I'm sorry. The point that I actually did have a point before I went rambling off into some bizarre tangent. The point I was trying to make is saw this movie today with him, with another couple friends of mine, and they both are saying, this is the last one. This better be good. This is the last one. This is the last one. And I said to there are three other guys. I said, so, but it's not really the last one, because we have more Disney Plus content coming. We have the Kenobi series. We have Cassian. We have Clone Wars. And they were like, yeah, no, I haven't even gotten Disney Plus yet. And I was like, oh, well, have you watched Mandalorian? And they're, no, I haven't seen anything about that. So it's interesting because they've set this up as the Rise of Skywalker as the last Star Wars, but there's so much Star Wars coming. It's an interesting choice of words, and maybe it's just to max out box office. But people who are not watching Mandalorian or preparing for the upcoming content, who are Star Wars fans, are really missing out. And I'm curious to see how they bring people into this world to get more Star Wars.
Well, one, you're gonna have to get more subscribers on Disney Plus.
Yep.
That's a big thing. Where you used, the structure for so long has been put the story on the big screen in the theater, and that's where they'll come see the main Star Wars. Because we know as you get the further away from the theater, the less people pay attention. So your biggest audience is going to be the theater going audience for your theatrical release. The smaller audiences would be for your TV shows. The even smaller might be your book audience. Maybe larger than the book audience is your comic book audience. The Star Wars storytelling, it's so splintered, and you have just like a fraction of like the whole pool of people actually sinking their teeth into every aspect of your storytelling avenue. Does that make sense?
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think that's that's just so for example, I was listening to the spoiler review of The Rise of Skywalker on the Resistance broadcast. And they were talking about, I'm not going to do any spoilers about Rise of Skywalker, but they mentioned something and they're like, yeah, but people thought that was the first time that happened in this movie, but it actually happened in the comics first. And it kind of proved the point that if you're not watching, most people aren't watching aren't reading the comics or watching television yet, or reading the books. And I think when we're in this gap, this 4-year gap or 3-year gap before 2022, I'm curious how many people are going to discover that there is more Star Wars always available to them. And I think that's where Disney Plus will grow.
Well, and you're probably right, Pete. But let's think about this, though. In between the time of 83 and 99, there were Star Wars comics always being published. How often were those Star Wars comics in the top 10 or making the top 100 list of most sold issues? I don't know. Right now, it's a different story, right? Because we're freaking getting a plethora of Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Charles Soule's Vader run got in the top 100 a few times. Dr. Aphra always seemed to be up there as well. And so it's where our minds are right now. I worry that the comic book rating numbers will actually dip down because we're leaving this era of theatrical release Star Wars, and now we're going to the streaming, like you mentioned. I hope more people find out about it. This is how Star Wars, I think, and this was kind of like the point that I was trying to make earlier. I don't think I actually got to it. It's the fact that Star Wars storytelling is happening on the phone now, and it's going to happen on your TV, on your computer screen, and your TV at home now, and that's how Star Wars is going to be consumed. And I think that's what Disney's trying to do. I think Disney is trying to train all of its consumers with Disney Plus. It's like, you're going here now for our content. Bob Iger says this is the future of Disney. By 2025, we want to have 103 million people subscribed to our streaming service, because this is how Disney will live on for its next 100 years or whatever. So I think ultimately people are going to have to join Disney Plus, because that's where they're going to get their Star Wars content, because you're not going to have a movie probably in the theaters in the next 5 years. And what if it wasn't until the next 10 years? Remember, there was still a bit of a gap between Revenge of the Sith and Force Awakens, and there was a bigger gap between Return of the Jedi and Phantom Menace. It's just if you want more Star Wars, I think by nature a human being will go seek that out, and with a little research, they'll find themselves going, "Oh, I guess I need to get Disney Plus."
Right. Yep.
That felt like a rant. I feel bad about that.
It is brand new, and the fact we talked about it before, and the numbers have increased since the first time we talked about it. But the Mandalorian is the top streamed show
ever, and
this is a service that is new. And again, you got to take including my buddy across the street, who I always talk about. I've seen The Rise of Skywalker with 4 other adults with children, and who are into Star Wars enough to go with me within the first 24 hours of it being released. And 3 out of the 4 of them asked, "Is Disney Plus worth getting? Should I get Disney Plus?"
Yeah.
So it's interesting because that's the target market, right?
That's
Based
surprising.
on especially what you just said, David, which I totally agree with. That's the target market, but they're still asking, is it worth it? Is it worth getting from people like me? So, I mean, and this is, maybe they are really relying on this word of mouth and this this sort of influencers now. I wouldn't call myself an influencer, but if you get enough
Way to stay
people
humble.
with a handful of followers who continue to talk about it, that's how it gets out there. The other thought, of course, is maybe they're waiting until we get through this big giant push through Rise of Skywalker before we're going to see Disney Plus commercials and advertisements everywhere we go.
Yeah, I yeah, it's kind of like so I work in a news station, and so I was talking to a guy who does sales, and he's like, "Why would I advertise TV on a billboard?" And I'm like, "Because it's there when people drive by it every day."
I hope he's not head of your marketing.
No, not anymore. He left us. He's not dead. He just he took another job. And I just thought it was an interesting strategy because his theory was, why would I advertise on a billboard when I'm telling other people they shouldn't advertise on a billboard? They should advertise with me. And
Right.
I think it's because it's two different audiences. Like, yeah, Disney Plus needs to still whore itself out on cable television because that's still where a lot of people are. I think the more difficult thing though is a lot of people are actually on the Netflix and the Amazon and the Hulu, and
Yep.
even though that Disney has Hulu now, how do you get the
Yep.
Disney Plus message on those platforms? You can't. Amazon's not going to allow Disney to advertise there, but then you have like the Amazon Fire Stick, for example, which
Yep.
it promotes all of those. So it's interesting. I'm not sure how they're going to feed the beast. But I hope the beast is continued to be fed well because you're going to have I don't know. I think some people could get lost because it's like, to your original point, you know, there is a thing that happens in the Rise of Skywalker that you're like, well, that's great, but how? And my buddy goes, oh, that's probably what they're going to have to, tell you in a book or a comic book because of, brand, company, a marketing structure. They're gonna get you to buy the book to tell you how that thing happened in the movie. And it's
Right.
like, shouldn't all these major plot points be told here? And so I feel like, yeah, there's not a way to tap into, the folks that haven't gotten Disney Plus yet. They're going to be left out too. They're going to be like, well, wait, when did Kenobi do this? Oh, he did it in the miniseries on Disney Plus, 2020. Remember that? No. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. And so I hope it doesn't. I hope we're not ostracizing our fans. But you know what, I'm not in marketing, and Disney seems to know how to make money at the box office. So I guess it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, it's. I think we're going through a discovery of how to tell stories. If you told me 10 years ago that Marvel Universe is going to be 20 plus movies, that's going to culminate in a gigantic, essentially 6 hour 2 part movie, um, I think I would have said you're crazy. I mean, think about it from a concept. You're going to take all the major Marvel comic book heroes. You're going to put them into 20 movies over 10 years. You're going to have multiple movies every year. I think conceptually it would have felt very different. Yeah, that may not work. It did work. And so maybe Disney is now saying, okay, what if we end the Star Wars saga that you're used to, and we begin telling stories in a universe that you've loved in a completely different way. You're going to watch it on TV. You're going to go see a movie every couple years starting 3 years from now. And they're resetting the track again. And I honestly, I think that's probably, the not a lot of people have said or thought about. Feige's role may be more related to Disney Plus than to major motion pictures. I don't know that it is. It's a thought, though. It's a hot take. We'll call it a hot take.
Oh, I like hot take. I wish I had a bell to ring it for you.
Yeah, we need a horn or a bell or something, a lightsaber blast, something. We'll come up with something.
But now, isn't it still? It's assumed that Feige is doing the movie and nothing more, right? Or is it assumed now that there is more of a role for him, despite taking the extra
I think it's
responsibility with
still been very
Marvel?
vague. I think a lot will come to light in January when they announce whatever's coming next. But I do believe they're exploring how do we tell the Star Wars story on Disney Plus. I mean, the fact that they're going to rely on it for the next 3 years tells us a lot.
I think so. Here's something that's interesting. I don't know if this is related. We'll make it related. So JLS is in the live chat, and he's talking about like, people he'd like to see in like future projects, and he threw out Keanu Reeves for Darth Revan, and
Yep.
I would love Old Republic not to be on the screen. I'd like it to be on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I think that would an Old Republic series, kind of like how they're doing Mandalorian, would be absolutely fantastic, and I'd love to see Revan. I want to see Bane. Buddy of mine, Sam, he wrote an article for Beyond the Blast Doors this past week, and while he did take a couple swings at the Fandom Menace and at Ryan Johnson fans, he did have a good point of how Bane really could work in an episodic way with Disney Plus, and so especially, and I won't say that because that's going to ruin something else that you're about to see in theaters if you haven't seen it already. I think Sith lore and really getting into, like, instead of going the opposite direction, getting away from the Force users, actually doubling down on that. I think that would be an easy hook for something on Disney Plus. I'm right there with you, JLS. I appreciate you throwing that in there.
Great point.
Okay. We had someone try and spoil Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, and we got rid of that. And then, okay, so someone's saying that Keanu Reeves is too old to play a young Revan. I don't care. I just like the idea. I don't care how they do it. I just don't care. Okay, so Pete, let's go back to Chapter 7. So there's some things that we have really identified with the series, and the fact that we like the directing, and we like the consistency of Deborah Chow, especially with action. We're excited about what she does with Kenobi. We've talked about Moff Gideon, who has established himself as he is the force to be reckoned with. We believe in this Mandalorian, in this galaxy right now in the Outer Rim. By the way, that TIE fighter we refer to as the Outland TIE fighter on a Topps trading card, we've been told in the live chat. So now
excellent.
That's how it works. We're getting a lot of. Do you ever feel like Baby Yoda is like super cute, and everyone shooting an episode of The Mandalorian knows that Baby Yoda is super cute, and so whenever we're not sure to make an edit, we just throw like Baby Yoda walking or jumping out of its crate or something just to distract you from like this edit, so that way you're just like, oh my god, look, it's Baby Yoda. Like, do you ever feel like it's oversaturation, or do you think that's impossible? You cannot show too much Baby Yoda in the series.
I think the fun answer is to say, give me Baby Yoda for 2 hours and 22 minutes, and I'll be totally happy. But I think
Sounds
I
really
actually
inappropriate.
think I think what we're seeing is what I'm loving about The Mandalorian is a phrase that has become sort of vilified is subverting expectations. And I think when we all walked into The Mandalorian, we all expected that it was going to be gruff, dirty, down and dirty, underworld Star Wars, which it is. What I don't think we expected was such an imperial presence, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
And we certainly, I can say, I would, if you were to ask me to have made a prediction, I probably would have said, no, we're not going to see any Force users in at least the first season of The Mandalorian. Well, we saw it in the first episode of The Mandalorian. So I think I don't think it's oversaturation. What I do think, here's my prediction, and let's do predictions for episode 8 and beyond. Maybe my prediction for this particular for chapter 8. I'm sorry, not episode 8, but chapter 8 is I think Moff Gideon survives. I think most of the, I know that's not really like that much of a leap, but I think all the other enemies of the Mandalorian have been eliminated. Grief is still the jury's still out. I mean, I don't like him. He's not a likable character and not trustworthy. I like him as a Star Wars character. I just don't like. Yeah, but I don't like him as if I'm the Mandalorian, I don't like him or trust him. But
you're not the Mandalorian, so that's not something you need to worry about. You're not the Mandalorian.
Thank God. You know,
what are you
talking
about? I don't want to be the Mandalorian. That guy travels where he wants to. Seems like he gets women flocking to him, especially the widowed women, and
without having to show his face.
Which for some of us that might be a luxury. Gets a lot of drinks, and he gets showered in credits, and sometimes calamari flan. And
that Beskar is pretty cool looking.
That seems like a nice life to. I don't know. I just want to hold you accountable. I'm sorry. That's not my place on the show. That's not my job. No, I'm sorry.
The point that I'm making is I think Gideon lives, and I think Gideon becomes the ongoing bad guy in episode or in season 2. I mean, think about episode 4 of Star Wars. The bad guy was essentially Tarkin. Then they upped it, and the bad guy was essentially Vader. And then they upped it again, and the bad guy was essentially the Emperor. And so I think, in this series, we all assumed that Werner Herzog was the big bad, and then he bowed to Moff Gideon, and you know what I love about Moff Gideon? He doesn't have a British accent. He just came out and he was just flat out super clear, super direct, and I think that added to the aura of who he is.
Yeah, what do you think? All right, so we're kind of jumping all over the place because
Yes, we are.
something that we like to do on this show is
Is
I don't like to be like, hey, remember that one time that this thing happened? How cool was that? And then I'd be like, it was super cool. And Pete's like, that was cool too. And I'm like, yeah, it was cool. I like to do like more conceptual stuff.
remember when you were in the Beatles? That was great.
Oh man, that was so fun. You were George, or you were who was the one that was in the casket? Oh, that was Paul. That was Paul. Paul's dead. IG-11.
Yep.
Plot twist. IG-11 has to like somehow get its original programming back and become a
Yeah.
threat to the child and the crew, right? Like that's what we're anticipating in season 2, because for chapter 8 at least, I could see him coming out and going into defense mode and obliterating all those stormtroopers.
Yeah, I think he saves the day in.
Okay.
I might go so far as to say he saves the day in chapter 8, and it would make sense. I mean, from a pure writing perspective, he hasn't trusted a droid in any single episode, and now the droid saves the day. It's a nice sort of connector.
I wouldn't say he trusts. I don't think he trusts IG-11 right now.
Oh no, not at all.
I don't
Oh
think
no,
I think
no,
he trusts
still
him
not at all.
less than before. Because I don't. Can you
Yep.
really reason with IG-11 now? Like IG-11, it's honestly as if you were in the room with the serial killer,
Yeah,
and you're
right.
like, "Are you having a good day? Did I just ask have a good? Did you? Am I asking these questions to a serial killer? Like, can I get you water? Why am I trying to be making this guy comfortable?" IG-11 is I don't know. The whole thing, it's like a bomb that's in the room, and I'm just waiting for it to go off. And I hope it does. I think that would be really. I think that would be like a legitimate conflict that we haven't seen. It.
Yep.
I always think I go back to how did it work out? There was like the second Thrawn novel came out, I think it was, and then there was a Poe Dameron comic that came out, and there was some other Star Wars story, and they were all three. The plot was we've got to get this certain kind of fuel for the ships. So
Right.
you had to get fuel for in Thrawn's story, which is like prequel era, and then Poe had to get it for the Black Squadron. And I was just like, are we really just going to mimic the same plot point? Not even in different stories, but in different stories in different formats at the same time. It's driving me up a wall. I've never seen an IG unit go berserk and slaughter a bunch of people, so I'm looking forward to it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think he's. I think he saves the day in this one, but then who knows where he goes from there.
Pete, what's the thing we haven't? What am I missing? I feel like I feel like I'm talking about the things that I want to talk about, and I feel like I'm talking about the things that have my mind in a tizzy when I'm thinking about Chapter 8 in Season 2.
Right.
But is there something that we're missing? Is there something that we're not addressing that is so blatantly obvious? Aside from the fact that this is the third week I've had this Christmas tree up, and I love this Christmas tree.
It's a beautiful tree. It is an absolutely stunning tree.
My cat climbed that tree, by the way. For anyone watching this, if you're just listening on the Around the Galaxy podcast stream, you will be lost. But if you're watching the show, whether live or on the rewind, I have a 15-pound cat that humped this tree, and to the point where the lights came off. I kid you not. I mean, rattled this tree so aggressively that the lights came off. I had to restrand the tree. If I spin the tree around a little bit, there's like a gaping hole because my cat eats the branches of the Christmas tree that he has humped so severely that the lights have come off. Okay, this is my life. Okay, I didn't ask for this life. This is not the situation I wanted. But that's what happens when you decide to start a podcast with a friend and your studio is your living room in which your cat likes to hump the Christmas tree. Okay, glad I got that off my chest. It's been on my chest for a while.
Are you feeling better?
I feel a lot better. I do.
Okay,
Manny gets this gift for the holidays. We celebrate Christmas here, so I'll say Christmas. And it's like 4 different wines, and it had the glasses, and it had the wood tray thing, and you can carry, it's like a tasting setup, and it's really cute. And I had like a little bit of wine. I had a sip of her wine, and I think right now what I'm having is regret that I didn't open up my whole bottle of wine. And I could be drinking right now because I think that would relax me just a little bit. What are we drinking tonight?
This is kind of an inexpensive Chardonnay. It was
1984
no,
Chardonnay.
no, it's like
Murder
I
the
think it
man
came
who
out
owned it. No.
2 weeks ago or something. It's not great, but
Are
it'll
you
do.
you're an Aldi
It'll
wine
do.
shopper, aren't you? Are you a Trader Joe person?
Am I what kind of shopper?
Like, do you go to Aldi to get your wine? Do you go to Trader Joe's to get your wine? Do you go to Walmart? Like, where do you get your
No,
wine?
there's a couple of good local liquor stores
Oh,
where
so
I
you
can
support local. That's
yeah.
admirable. Yeah, that's admirable. If you could get Amazon wine, I'd get Amazon wine.
I would too, man. And
Um,
with Prime, it'd be a problem.
heck yeah,
But
2-day delivery.
so you were asking me anything that we missed, and I will say there was a tweet that I think I threw out after watching this episode the first time, and I'd love to see what people say in the chat about this. But my perspective is, in 7 episodes, The Mandalorian has made 6 bad decisions. He's put himself into positions that I think those of us who are watch like there's a difference in watching some sort of drama or action adventure and be like, no, don't go in there, and something's coming. Um, but there's also, I think we're in a spot where, I mean, would you trust Grief Karga's plan that he even said in the hologram message? You come back and we'll help you out, and it just like he keeps putting himself into bad places, and I don't.
Well, what's his other
I
what's his other choice, Pete? I mean, and here's the thing: we had a conversation before the show started about exposition in the Rise of Skywalker. The
Yeah,
exposition in this episode, he's telling you exactly what the situation is. If he doesn't come and meet with Grief and try and take out this Imperial, Werner
yep,
Herzog's character, they're just going to keep sending bounty hunters after the Mandalorian. He's never going to be free as long as he has this child. And I think Mandalorian is trying to figure out what the hell this child is, because I guess it's like the Force exists, but we don't call it the Force right now.
well, yeah, they have no idea what it is. I think and I love that because it helps set up some of the things that people said about the Force Awakens, and that is, how do people forget about the Force? And think about it this way: if the Emperor took over the galaxy at the end of Revenge of the Sith, or
Mhm.
beforehand even, and then it was what, 20 plus years until, or I guess by this point it's almost 25 to 30 years since the Empire's been in place. Think about 25 to 30 years ago, and people who the memories of people is not it's not as great as you think. I mean, you already start to see people lose sight of things that happened 10, 20, 30 years ago, and forget about things. And the Force wasn't on prevalent in every single system, in every single city, in every single um, outlet for civilization. So that being, the Jedi were even mythical when they were prevalent. So it is kind of cool to see Queel and the Mandalorian and Kara look at the powers of the child and not be clear on what it is. I think that's important. It's a big galaxy, and there's been a lot going on, and it's been 30 years since the Jedi were around. I think it's actually done pretty nicely.
I think so. And someone just pointed this out in the live chat. Quill is 200 years old. He never heard of the Jedi. I just think it depends on where you are in the galaxy, because isn't it stated a few times that the Jedi really didn't go out to the outer rim,
Right.
the far out reaches, and that's where the show is taking place. The Jedi were peacekeepers, and they only went throughout the galaxy. They really explored the galaxy because of the Clone Wars, that galactic conflict. So I feel like that was somewhere mentioned in the prequels.
Yep.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's something we saw with Rogue One, right? I mean, even Rogue One territory, people were like, the Jedi, like, those really real? I mean, they were doubting it, despite Force users or worshippers of the Force still being in society, as we saw in Jeddah, for example. So yeah,
Yep.
I think it's a really good point. I think it's a really good point. I'm just really thrilled. I think that after seeing The Rise of Skywalker, and I've seen it twice, and I'll go see it at least a third time, probably a fourth time, fifth time actually. Oh God, good thing tickets only cost me $3.99 in Quincy, Illinois. I'll tell you that I'm just really happy that we are kind of getting a break from the theatrical stuff, and this is what we get to do: episodic Star Wars storytelling. And I really hope that it's always on this. Here's a question for you, Pete. Here it is now. We've gotten 7 episodes, and it's been about a week apart. Obviously, we got Chapter 7 a little early. We're going to have to wait a little longer for Chapter 8. But aren't you enjoying the fact that you get like a week to watch this thing a couple of times when you got downtime and discuss with friends and talk with people on the internet and get their take on it? Like, I like how, I do miss like having the 3 years between the prequels to like talk with friends about what do you think is going to happen in the next movie. But just a week is nice, just to be like, hey, like, what do you think's going on? What's going to happen?
You bring up a good point because I was thinking about it from a similar but slightly different perspective, and that is it's good to have. I was very excited to hear that it was going to be released weekly, like a Game of Thrones or something. So it does give us the opportunity to think about it and watch it and put a show together and talk about it with friends and put the show together sort of a tongue in cheek. But it is nice to have a conversation with you about this in between shows and build it up. The other thing is it's not 2 years, so you can have disappointment build up, right? If there's not enough time to create an entire theory in my head and get attached to it and fall in love with it so much that when it doesn't happen because it's not my story to tell, I get pissed off. I think you and I expressed a little bit of, I don't know if disappointment or concern, or I don't know what the right word is, when the episodes seemed like they were kind of, I don't want to say meandering, but not going down the exact path that we thought had been set up. But we didn't become so invested in our own perspective and thoughts that we were disappointed. We take that next 35-minute episode and we run with it. We continue to play with it and move on with it. So I think it is great. It is, I said it before and you've said it 100 times as well. It's a ridiculously good time to be a Star Wars fan. We couldn't be luckier. And again, this isn't a Rise of Skywalker show, but there's such varying opinions that came from people over investing, I think, in a way. And this show is just the right amount of time every week. It's the right amount of time between episodes. And it's a damn fun story. And it is incorporating all the things we love about Star Wars. We're getting bounty hunters. We're getting the Empire. We're getting laser battles. We're getting some Force input. We're getting cool ships. We're getting different planets. We're getting everything we want.
We are. Sorry, I left you hanging there. I got distracted because I thought you were going to say lightsabers, and then you said like laser fights.
No, I stopped. I almost
giggle.
said lightsabers,
You know
but
what
then I
we got?
remembered. No,
We got freaking Mandalorians with jetpacks hovering down to the ground with a machine gun
right.
and a thing, and it's freaking glorious. Something that's a conversation that's in the live chat right now. Let's go ahead and talk about that for a little bit. Scotty Jarrow joins us, a friend of our show, all of our shows here, and he said that's what he likes, the weekly drop. He says that's what makes shows like Stranger Things relevant after a 1 week, because
100%.
people binge it and then they're done with it, and I mean that's what I was afraid of with the Mandalorian. And now here's the question I will pose to you though: has the Mandalorian and Disney Plus, do you think that it impacted or influenced the hype around the Rise of Skywalker? Because if you drop this series all at once, one day back in November, people binge it. And then there's like a month until the Rise of Skywalker. But we've done episodes about The Mandalorian every week, and the conversation has always been about The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian. You go to Beyond the Blast Doors YouTube channel right now. Every icon, every thumbnail within the last month and a half is Mandalorian, because that's what's happening.
Yep.
Do you think that it might have negatively impacted the hype surrounding the Rise of Skywalker?
It's a great question because
I appreciate that.
You're a professional. You get the good questions. I think it may have, but again, 3 out of 4 adults who hang out with me don't watch Mandalorian, so I'm not sure. I think it may have impacted the full-on Star Wars faithful like myself, in that I think it actually helped because I was able to focus on something a little bit different, a little bit more about more than just my expectations for the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I get that. I had this conversation with someone in the movie theater last night because we share a common. I learned very quickly that we shared common views on a lot of things, and this was a conversation happening among 15 people in a AMC show place. It
Hmm.
was the advertising for The Mandalorian compared to the advertising of The Rise of Skywalker, which I think those should be two separate conversations in theory because you're promoting a big blockbuster movie and then you're promoting while it's $110 million to produce these 8 episodes. You're talking about a TV show essentially, right? They
Hmm.
shouldn't even be comparable. But the case that was being made was, yeah, we've been focused on the Mandalorian too much, and the Rise of Skywalker. Instead of telling fans kind of up front where this adventure was going, they did the standard. We're gonna tease you to death until you get into the movie theater. And
Right.
there was the Kylo meets Emperor TV spot where, you know, Kylo is like in a ship and he flies down to this planet that we've never seen before. And there's like a lot of lightning. He walks into this block thing and he, my boy, like we hear that and then it's like, wow, this is like a pretty cool scene. I think that if they would have shown me these 30 seconds back in D23 a year and a half ago, I'd be freaking losing my mind for the last year and a half ago. I think I would have
Yep.
been really going for it. And we didn't get that. We just got teased. And with The Mandalorian, I felt like it was more of this approach of we're going to show you you're getting this. You're getting bounty hunters. You're getting empire. You're getting conflict. You're getting rogues. You're getting equality, whether it's the diversity on screen with your cast, but also with your directors. We're going to bring in all these different faces to direct these episodes. And, it really got me thinking. I was like, wow, I think maybe the strategy should have been reversed. I don't know, but it was a really interesting conversation to see how a TV show for some people in this theater stole the momentum away
Hmm.
from the Rise of Skywalker
So
and
interesting. Yeah,
kind of cannibalizes itself.
I love where this is going because and again, maybe this goes to the point we made earlier about Disney has had a vision or a thought as to how the best way to tell this story is. So another example, and I'm going to pull off a Scotty Gyro said on there, and I don't. I'm sorry if it's Gyro or Jro. I know you, Scotty, but I've never said your last name out loud. So
Scotty doesn't know either. Get it? Sorry.
so anyway, so this morning I was in my 7-year-old's first grade class. It was his little non-denominational winter snack time party, and um, we um we were I was sitting at his table, and sitting across from him was a little boy wearing a shirt with a Chewbacca and a porg on it. And I was like, "Oh, I love your shirt." And he said, "Oh, thank you. It's Chewbacca and it's a porg." And another little boy said, "I love the Mandalorian." Out of nowhere, he said, "I love the Mandalorian." And those two kids and my son were talking about Mandalorian, and they didn't care at all about the movie that's coming out. In fact, when I told Jack, my son, that hey, we're going to go see the new Star Wars movie on Saturday, he said, "Oh, another Mandalorian." So it's really interesting how it's impacting different audiences. And I don't know, maybe Rise of Skywalker is for those of us who are over 25 years old. I don't know.
Well, and like the thing about it is, think about your entry point now.
Yep.
And then that's what I love about Star Wars is the fact that while the story evolves and how the story is told evolves, so too does how fans are introduced to that story. So your entry point for a lot of people was just the original 3 films. Right? It was that 77 film, or maybe you rushed to watch that on however you could, and then you went and saw Empire in theaters and so on and so forth. Maybe your entry was Clone Wars or Rebels
Yep.
or the Resistance, or maybe now it's The Mandalorian. And like, if it's me, I'm almost like a little jealous of the people that get their first taste of Star Wars through Disney Plus,
Yeah.
because you literally just crap yourself when you realize how much more Star Wars is out there now for you to consume. It's like, might like, can you imagine like little Johnny going? Let's think about Jackson. Jackson goes to school and he's like, "Hey, I just watched The Mandalorian with my dad. It is so cool." And then someone's like, "Oh yeah, I want to check that out." And then they're like, "Well, after you're done with that, you got to go watch, A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, because that's kind of like that's right happens right before this thing." And they're like, "Oh no way." And then they just keep digging and they find the Clone Wars and Rebels and they just keep going. And how like the imagination has to be overload. Kids are going to stroke out. I'm scared for the future of our youth now because they're going to have so much Star Wars content, and there's only going to be more Star Wars content. We're going to have death all across America, and it's going to be tragic. Did that escalate quickly? No, but seriously, it's a good time to be a fan. I'm really happy about it.
Yeah, it is really great, and I've said it as well, as I think if Disney's done nothing else right, and that's not intended to say they haven't, but they've done a phenomenal job of opening doors for every single audience to enter, whether it's, again, my son really got into Star Wars through Resistance and Clone Wars. I, of course, got into it through the movies. My daughter's entry to Star Wars was The Force Awakens. So they're opening doors and they're getting people in, and I think that's what Disney Plus is going to do. Is it's going to be, I don't care where you came in from, anything that's Star Wars now, go check it out. And I think about it this way. Star Wars has become its own genre. And if you go to the the Disney Plus streaming service, the homepage, Star Wars is a category. It's not a choice of a movie somewhere that you have to go search. It's not under sci-fi fantasy. It's under Star Wars, which means that it's going to be delivered to you any type of Star Wars you want to see. Star Wars and National Geographic are the same type of topics on Disney Plus.
No, I think that's like a really good point, which is kind of obviously one of the main reasons why we got Disney Plus in the first place, is because we knew that we were going to get the Star Wars content, and the fact that it's such a priority on that platform. Something that's interesting that Scotty just said in the live chat is the fact that his students, he's a teacher professionally, and he says his students just absolutely love The Mandalorian. And he's talking about how they just don't grasp how long we've had to wait in between movies or in between trilogies.
Right. And
the fact that it is kind of like a blessing and kind of a curse for like the expectancy now, right? Because they want to know like why they don't get a multi-drop on Disney Plus in the theaters. Like it's just like, I want it now. I don't want to have to wait kind of mentality. And I think that's really interesting. I want to address. I'm glad we're not doing a multi-drop. Like I'm happy that The Mandalorian is just on Disney Plus. I think it would have been kind of weird if they would have been trying to push that in the theaters as well. That just wouldn't have worked out. Or maybe they would have done like maybe they would have done like a 4-hour movie viewing. You could watch them all in the theater or whatnot. But no, I just think that's a societal thing. Is the fact that Disney Plus and what Disney is doing with Star Wars is going against, what I don't want to call it second nature, but like, kids today are habitual that they have this phone, so anything they want to know or anything they want to watch is right here. I like that Star Wars and Disney is like, no, you're gonna wait a week. You're gonna wait a week, and you're not gonna know the full story for 8 weeks. And I like that because it's like reprogramming kids to be patient. I just substitute teach. I teach one class an hour a day, Monday through Thursday. And I can't believe I have a student that's like just on their phone the entire class. I cannot get the phone out of their hand. And I can't figure out how to do it. But you know what? Disney has found a way to get kids to wait. And I think that is a healthy thing. And I'm going on another tangent. Andy's in the live chat. Did Andy just show up after us talking for an hour? We've been live for an hour, and Andy's just joining us. Andy's been blowing up my phone for like the last 48 hours, being like, dude, the Rise of Skywalker, it's real. It's real, Andy. I know it's real. Well, what did you think? I can't tell you yet. It's not appropriate to tell you on this show. I'm just really happy, and I'm blown away that we're at the point where we're about to wrap up the first season. And so it's like Pete and I are looking at each other going, well, after next week, what are we going to do? We're not quite sure how this Star Wars thing works on Disney Plus when there's no new Star Wars on Disney Plus. You know what's going to happen is there's going to be like however long we have to wait until the next thing on Disney Plus, there will be some YouTube channel that will do a rewatch of The Mandalorian. And I'm just going to be, are you kidding me? Are you really going to do that? You're going to do a rewatch of the show that we just watched? Or they'll do like some like Patreon exclusive. We'll do live commentary of The Mandalorian. Patreon. Right. It's like, gosh dang it. We're going to do something different.
Well, let's use this opportunity to ask people. So what would you like to hear from us over that time? Because we're not going to go anywhere. We're still going to be live just about every Friday if we can. whether there's a new show or not. I mean, there's always going to be something to talk about with Disney Plus and
Absolutely.
Disney. But what would you guys love to hear from us?
I'm really curious to see what people say in the live chat. Um, I had somebody text me. They're like, "Man, I think what you should just do is lists." Like they wanted the suggestion. The section. Someone emailed me at beyondtheblastdoors@gmail.com the other day and was like, "For streaming Star Wars, you guys should just do list episodes until the next thing drops." I'm like, "Why would we do 37 lists? That seems really excessive." And honestly, we would have to do so many list episodes that at one point we'd have to inevitably do an episode that would be our top 10 list of our top 10 lists. And
Right.
then
What of all of our lists, which list was your favorite list that we did?
that's it'd just be a shame. No, it looks like we are not going to. Do we have a suggestion? Everyone's saying goodnight to somebody. Someone went to bed. What time is it? It's 11:10 at your neck of the woods, right?
It's true.
Okay,
Yeah,
it's 10
it's
10
it's
mine.
past my bedtime.
Okay, kapow. Okay. Something about
Pie
fan
charts.
fiction. He wants fan fiction pie charts. Oh, that would be funny. That would so no. What we could do is we could do polls along the lines of like how many times. What was the best use of "This is the way" in The Mandalorian? That would be great. Just a whole episode on arguing over. Well, actually, "This is the way" was best used when the Beskar was being formed. You like how we don't take ourselves seriously all the time on the show? I appreciate it. It's actually why I like doing this show, because we can just talk about stupid stuff, or I can ask, Mr. Flutzer over here what he's drinking, and then Pete just tells me what he's drinking, and we can just go on those side tangents. We've been going for like what 50 minutes? I think we're alive. We're doing well.
I
Andy
think
wants
we're
us to
doing
break
okay.
down Duel of the Fates with some scatter plots. I hope you get hit by a car. That's a joke.
Oh.
I don't. That was a joke. I love it how tonight I've just decided I'm going to take it from like 1 to 35.
Right, there's no middle ground.
There's
You're
no
either
middle
like
ground.
chill and kind of, very serious about
You
talking
know
about the
why?
Mandalorian,
Because
or just
I'm on edge because I want to talk about the Rise of Skywalker with you like right now in this moment. I'm going to be honest with you. It's like I have a craving. I have like 3 things that I really just need to like shout to the rooftop about, but I made a promise to 4 different people that I want to do that tonight.
so wait, you're gonna join me for the live Rise of Skywalker conversation tomorrow night that I'm gonna
Can you talk about
run
that? What time is that? What time are you doing that?
I don't know. Actually, I haven't decided. What time works for you? This is totally behind the curtain. What time works for you tomorrow, Dave? We'll do it tomorrow night. What time would work best for you?
I think
And Andy. I want Andy on there
yeah, we
as
got to get
well. I
Andy on
told
there.
Andy.
I think we got to
Told
do it.
Andy.
We got to do it later for me because we yes yeah yes we will have a libation ending our shared narrative, Pete.
Right. Top 10 whiskeys.
Thank you, Andy, for that reference. That was, by the way, the best quote of The Mandalorian so far. Shall we have a libation ending our shared narrative? I can sound like a Nazi. I would prefer like in the evening, like I don't know, 9 or 10 my time. I mean, don't do it around me. Here's the thing: I'm supposed to be having a wine party tomorrow. I invited
Oh, boy.
20 people over to my house. Okay, I invited 20 people. We're gonna have a wine party, and we got this idea like the week after Thanksgiving, and so we're like, oh, let's do it the 21st of December when every other damn holiday party is taking place. So we sent out all these invitations, and it's going to be me, it's going to be Mandy, it's going to be Gilbert, and then it's going to be a buddy of mine from one of the radio stations in town. It's going to be 4 people, and
All right.
I sleep
Have
with
on
one
the
of
show.
them,
Which one?
Mandy. Almost one time with Gilbert, but we were both drunk. It was college. Apparently, I was on the floor and I tugged at his pant leg, and he's like, "No, I don't sleep with Italians." And he always makes fun of my ethnicity. I don't know why he has to do that. Whenever you do it, if I'm not able to be on the show though, I will definitely be in the live chat
All right.
and
So
chat with
let's
you.
do this. I'm going to say we're going to do my channel tomorrow night at 9 p.m.
My time or your time?
So, my time. So, will that work? Well, will
You do
will that
you.
work?
You'll talk for a couple hours about it, I'm sure, right? A couple
I
hours.
don't think it's possible not to. Yeah,
Okay,
I
so
think.
then yeah, we'll do it.
But actually, let's do 10 p.m. 10 p.m. I'm going to put that right
Oh,
in
I
here, right
love
here.
you.
10 p.m.
I love you so
That way,
much.
because I know there's West Coast people too, and
Oh,
Saturdays
yeah.
aren't easy for everybody. So let's do 10 p.m. my channel tomorrow. What I think I want to do is I want to I'll send out a couple of advanced invites to for people to be in the video. But if you have video on your setup, I could also shoot invitations to other people while we're live to join us in the video. So I think we'll have some fun with it. We'll have some fun with it. I mean, geez, we've been looking forward to this movie for 2 years, for 42 years. Let's have some fun tomorrow night with it.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, and I really enjoyed. You had a six-way on your channel, talking predictions for the Rise of Skywalker, which I'd never been part of a six-way before. And my problem with the six-way is just giving everybody like equal attention. Right? You don't want anyone to feel left out, or you don't want people to get jealous. And I noticed like Charlie talked a lot, which I loved. I always see Charlie Skywalker in the live chat. I freaking love hearing that man actually talking about Star Wars on
Yeah.
YouTube. And so that was really cool. You had father or son on there, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
And it was just like a really great, a really great mix of perspectives, which is so nice. I know Andy was on there too. So I love that you're doing more on your YouTube channel. I think it's awesome. And of course,
Thank you.
love that we can collaborate over here, of course. But it's just, it's like a cool conversation. And I'm looking forward to seeing and hearing what everyone has to say tomorrow night. Because like I'm just like I'm really happy with the Rise of Skywalker.
Yep.
For a lot of reasons. And then like I have my few gripes, but yeah, there's some cool things in that. And like, it's like we've said like 5 times on the show already. It's just a good time to be a fan, because if you didn't like the Rise of Skywalker, you have Mandalorian, and if you did like it, you get Mandalorian. It just like you just get all this. There's always the next thing to consume, which is really great. We have this image on the screen right now. It just passed, but I just want to see how the Mandalorian gets his freaking jetpack, because I want to see him mount the Outland TIE Fighter and Skull Stomp. What's not Mushroom Stomp? What was that phrase I was thinking? What's the thing when you put a person's mouth on the curb stomp? There we go. Just beat the crap out of Gideon. It's gonna be so cool. It's gonna be so cool. It's gonna be
I
great.
think there's a lot to look forward to. I think next Friday's show. All right, let's do some final predictions and then we'll sign off for this. I think next Friday's show, I think it's 50 plus minutes. What do you think?
BS. I'm going to say it's going to be
All right.
34.
Oh, okay.
34 minutes, and I think, yeah. Well, oh, man, I shouldn't have locked myself into that number. Damn it. I think it's gonna be it won't be more than 50 minutes, and it won't be, but I think it's gonna be nonstop action. So I'll stick to my 34. But yeah, it's gonna be a quick 34, and I can see a lot of people complaining about how overall the main complaint for season 1 will be the episodes were they were inconsistent in length, and overall they were too short.
Yeah, Charlie's saying 45. He's taking the safe route somewhere in between us. That's fine.
Well,
any other predictions? Will it end on a cliffhanger? Or will it end?
Yeah, for
okay.
sure. I think the baby will be. I think the child will be in Imperial possession at the end of season 1 for sure.
All right, cool. So this is great because we're setting up discussions for next week, because I think the Mandalorian has the baby and hands it to somebody at the end of next week.
Charlie Skywalker says bottle of wine says 45. Charlie, I will raise you a second bottle and say 34. So now if I'm right, hell yeah. And I like Napa cabs, baby. I'll give you my address.
Okay. So we have you saying 34 minutes, me saying 50 minutes. We have you saying baby's in the Empire's hands. I'm saying Mando hands him off to somebody. Let's get one more prediction for a tiebreaker in there.
Oh well, okay. Will he take his helmet off? No.
No, I don't think he takes his helmet off this season.
All right, so we need to do another one because we're still tied.
Let's see.
People want to tell me that Grief Karga is going to die in this next episode, and I say BS, because with
he's directing one next season.
Yeah,
right?
with Carl Weathers directing an episode, you can't
Yeah.
tell me he's not going to be acting in that series. So, yeah, I don't know. I think, aren't those the big questions we have remaining?
I think that's it. Yeah, those are the main questions.
I mean, are we going to see? Well, are we going to see the cloner, the Kaminoan cloner? Is that even a story anymore at this point in the game? I guess did he get taken out? Did he get taken out of the cantina when they fired in there?
I didn't see him in the cantina.
Okay.
If anything, he might have died when Mando blew up the safe house.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think I think okay, here's
I,
one from
I,
Frammy. Will
I,
there
I,
be an actual crew on the Razor Crest by the end of next week? Will this be, is this the crew?
yeah, I say the crew sticks together.
Okay.
All right, I'll add
All right.
one more question,
I mean,
and then
we can honestly, it's our show. We can go for out. You can ask. You can put as many as you want on the table. We'll just keep talking.
okay, but here will be my last one. Will there be a direct connection? This is a no spoiler conversation about the Rise of Skywalker, but it will not be next week. Will there be a direct connection to Rise of Skywalker in this episode, Chapter 8?
I'll say no.
I'll say yes.
Really?
Yeah, just for
How?
tiebreaker sake.
You're.
But no, I do think
That's
there
not
may
how
be
Vegas
something.
operates. Does Baby Yoda go ham on the Death Troopers? Hell yeah, JLS. That's a good one. Do you think
Oh, that's a good one.
will Baby
Maybe
Yoda actually free himself?
Oh yeah, maybe Baby Yoda saves their asses and gets them out of that cantina. That could be.
Kapow's like, do you think that there will be a behind the scenes of the season featurette after the finale? No, but I could see that getting released somewhere between season 1 and season 2. And I'd be kind of curious if is there anything that they're doing differently with season 2, having already done season 1. You know, I think that's the danger of having season 1 finished and airing and then starting production. I wonder if I wonder based on the reaction of the viewing audience if they would do anything differently. Probably not, right? I mean, isn't that the whole thing? Is we tell the stories that we want to tell. We don't want to tell the story that fans demand.
Right. Yeah.
I think I heard someone on social media complaining about that the other day. In regards to some interesting Force aspects, I think there will be a total tie-in. That's according from Scotty. So Scotty's on your side. He thinks that there is going to be some kind of connection to the Rise of Skywalker. JLS says, Pete, I believe there already is a connection to the Rise of Skywalker.
And I agree with him.
We're not giving any spoilers away, damn it, but you're right. No, I don't think so. I think it's just I know what you guys are talking about, and it's just like, well, if that's the case, well then there's a direct connection because there's spaceships in this show and there's spaceships in that movie. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I have the wrong viewpoint on it.
Well, we'll talk about it next week.
All right. I guess I'll call you nurse then. Okay. So, what is that? Did I miss anything? We're pretty satisfied? Are we satisfied?
I think we're satisfied. I think JJ would say we're satisfied.
It's a yeah. JJ. Well, it's close out and satisfy and hair product. What? Let's do this. Any news with around the galaxy?
Well, there won't be a new episode this Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm going to take the week off for the Christmas holiday. So no, nothing really. I was thinking, we always have these big ideas that we want to put together a best of show or something, but that takes time and effort that, frankly, I'd rather spend wrapping gifts and drinking wine and hanging out with the family. So there will not be a new Around the Galaxy this week, but the audio version of this will hit probably tomorrow or Sunday. And then, of course, tomorrow night, as we just all discussed and worked out together, we'll get together at 10 p.m. Eastern Time to talk about The Rise of Skywalker. And I hope all of you join us. And like I said, anybody who's got a webcam may have an opportunity to end up on the show with me as well.
People say they want a behind-the-scenes featurette of streaming Star Wars, which would be embarrassing, hysterical, and pathetic at the same time. Hey, just to remind everybody that you can follow us on Twitter at StreamingSW. Please do so. That's where we post updates of the show, and we keep it pretty professional, right? I mean, like it's pretty much just telling you about the show stuff. We don't get too personal on there. Scotty Jarro says, I'm satisfied. You too, Rock. Can't wait to see you soon. Stay bombad, fam. Hell yeah. You saw. Okie day. And then, by the way, you can watch the show live on Beyond the Blast Doors or catch the rewind there. And as I've mentioned before, you can find our show podcast version, audio version, however you want to call it, on the Around the Galaxy podcast stream. It's been a fun show, man. I know I've been a little slap happy, a little scatterbrained, and I appreciate your patience. It's just that when you see The Rise of Skywalker, and if you haven't seen it yet, it is so much to consume. You have to go a second time, and I'm not trying to say that to inflate the numbers, but it's just so much. And it's before the show, I rewatched Chapter 7 just because I literally I was Pete. I couldn't remember what happened. It's literally like The Rise of Skywalker.
I literally watched it just before we got on. Like I said, I saw it again second time today as I think you did, and so I I put it back on because you're right. It feels like it's been a weird, long week of Star Wars, which is great, but hard to keep up with.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I try and take notes during the show too. But you know, that first time I watched the episode, I just want to watch it. I watched it a second time to take notes. But I
Yep.
was like, man, I don't want to I don't want to fail you. I want to build you up and support you like a good life
Sa-
partner.
Same here, man. This show's been a lot of fun. Hey, listen, we're coming down to the end of Mando. That means that we're coming down to the end of our first part of our first season, and it's been a blast. And I'm just excited every time we get on, and I see, hey, we get our same sort of core group of guys and girls joining us every week.
Mhm.
Can you say guys and girls? Is that politically correct?
Absolutely.
The
Yeah, you
same group
can.
of people who join us
I think
every week. I
guys
love
is
it.
an asexual term now. I think guys can applies to men and women. I think.
Okay.
I
All right.
think. I don't know.
Well, we will not see you at Streaming Star Wars until after Christmas. So,
I just
for those
realized
of you who
that.
celebrate, Merry Christmas to everybody.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Festivus, whatever you celebrate. Just enjoy it with the friends and family in your life. And Pete, I mean, you're my friend. You're also my drinking partner, my co-alcoholic. I like to tell people. And I hope you have the best holiday with your friends and family. I'm so thankful when the time comes on Christmas Day to say what you're most thankful for. One of the things I have to say for 2019 is the new friendships I formed, and one of those being you. It's been a lot of fun to find, find someone to continue this hobby with, and great time to be alive too, because in 2019 you can be friends with someone that's 1,100 miles away.
Same thing here, man. Really, really enjoying
I
it.
just
And,
poured my heart out, and that's all you can give. I mean, give me a damn tear, you prick. I'm kidding. You're my friend. I love you so much. No, I really do. I admire you. I mean, I question your fathering stuff sometimes, but it's fine. Jackson comes in behind you during an episode, and you just Jackson move. It's like it's just it seems a little over the top. I feel like you shouldn't have
it
to
might
try
be
so hard.
it might be a little bit harsh.
I
It
know.
might be a little harsh.
Just let the kid live. He's only a child once. And then he's miserable like the rest of us. Is there anything else that we need to talk about?
No, I think that's it. I think I'm looking forward to next week talking about how the Mando ends.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Everybody, may the force be with you. See you soon.